and gentlemen, this is the moment we have been waiting for at the Wheatley Vodka Rampage at Remington, presented by Tecate Light and brought to you by HD MMA. We are at Remington Park and Casino in Oklahoma City, and this is our main event. Aaron AJ Nichols in the blue corner, taking on the tough Braden Smith out of the red corner. This is a top flight bout between two 170-pounders, and it is for the Oklahoma Welterweight Championship. Let's send it up in the ring for the announcements to the amazing Gerald Whaley.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your main event of the evening, proudly brought to you by Wheatley Vodka. And this is for the vacant Oklahoma MMA title. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, it's fight night! Introducing first the challenger, fighting out of the blue corner. He weighed in at an official 169 pounds. His professional record stands at 4 wins with 1 defeat and 1 draw. From Perry, Oklahoma, ladies and gentlemen, AJ, the Disciple Nichols. And his opponent standing across the cage, fighting out of the red corner. He weighed in at an official 171 pounds. His professional record stands at 9 wins with 3 defeats. From Choctaw, Oklahoma, ladies and gentlemen, the former Oklahoma welterweight champion, Braden H.B. Smith. We go to Mark Pollard for your instructions.
At all times, listen to my instructions, fight hard, fight fair, give the people what they came to pay for. Touch them up, let's go.
This is the fight for the Oklahoma Welterweight Championship, and these two fighters, you saw them putting the stare on each other. Mikel Valentin, what kind of bad blood exists between Nichols in the blue corner and Smith in the red corner?
Wouldn't say it's bad blood, but there's a little history. So Braden's teammate, Manuel Murrow, fought AJ, and AJ actually beat him, caught him, knocked him out, stopped the fight. Braden was in the corner of that fight. I know Braden wanted the fight after. There was no bad blood. Nobody called nobody out, but it did come together. They're in the same class. The fight made sense. And yeah, both guys have a lot to prove here. Braden's really trying to get to the next level, and AJ's trying to take that, take that from him and do the same.
Well, AJ Nichols, fighting out of the blue corner, initiated the action. He started to work a single leg and lost it, and all of a sudden it looks like Braden Smith is in dominant position, but I don't think he doesn't have his forearm underneath that chin quite like he'd like to. However, AJ Nichols is not in a good position.
No, Braden's doing a very good job right now controlling him against the cage. However, I will say AJ didn't panic. He took a big knee right there, but he didn't panic in that choke, and he had a lot of composure getting out of it. Braden's a bigger man. AJ has fought at 155, decided to go up to 170. Not sure he needs to fit 70 size-wise, but if he feels better here, it's hard to question that.
And that size difference is showing inside the cage as Braden Smith looks significantly bigger than AJ Nichols, and he is showing his physical dominance by completely controlling the action with Nichols pressed up against the cage, and Nichols doesn't seem to have an answer for Smith's overwhelming power.
No, not right now, and Smith is doing a really, really good job with his clinch. He's controlling his head, and here's AJ, though, reversing and looking for a double leg, and Braden doing a great job fighting it off.
And once again, Nichols went for the single leg, then the double leg, then tried the single leg again. Is it possible Nichols simply does not have the size and strength to throw Braden Smith around the way he wants to?
I agree. I think that's one of the things I was wondering about this fight was the size advantage and the strength, because AJ is a smaller guy and he has fought at a lower weight class. And Braden's also got a whole lot more experience, so this is definitely showing right now.
And as we know, one of the oldest adages in boxing is that the good big man will beat the good small man. Braden Smith seems so much larger. They weighed in within just 3 pounds of each other.
So,
but that size is not a factor now, as Nichols apparently took a knee right to the groin, and he has 5 minutes to recover. The referee, Mike Carter, letting him know he's on the clock, and Nichols is ready to jump back in there. If you were advising Nichols, would you have told him to take a little bit more time? I think I would have.
I think so, but at the same time, if he's loose and he's ready to fight and he takes too long, he might overthink what he's doing wrong and it might get worse for him. So I think they just wanted him back in the fight, you know, especially if he wasn't hurt too much.
No clear-cut answers in the fight game, but here in round 1 of this 5-round bout that will determine the welterweight championship of Oklahoma, Braden Smith appears to be in complete control. And as I say that, AJ Nichols gets a spectacular slam, but really didn't have the strength and wherewithal to capitalize on.
Yep, and Braden used his hips, the strength, the size, and reversed them. And now he's in a dominant position. He's actually looking underneath for a Darce here, but he doesn't have it here. But he does have in a big position for elbows. This is interesting.
Braden Smith in great position. It looks like he doesn't quite have the placement to control the action. But at this point, I would certainly rather be Braden Smith than AJ Nichols.
Agreed. It's an interesting fight here, but Braden is absolutely controlling every aspect for sure. AJ, the only thing he's done is had that takedown, and he didn't control it, he didn't keep it.
And as Smith rains down with a series of hammer punches, every single one of them was blocked by Nichols. I think Smith would be well served to start working the body to get Nichols' guard down a bit.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I think Nichols is keeping his hands all the way up, expecting head strikes, and I think Braden could definitely use maybe some elbows or punches to the body. But overall, kind of hard to pick it apart because he's doing a very good job.
Well, this is a disparity in size, height, and strength. Braden Smith dominating AJ Nichols up to this point, but AJ Nichols is a tough fighter with an impressive record, and he's going to make it out of round 1. Round 2 is next. This is the main event, round 2 of the Wheatley Vodka Rampage at Remington, presented by Tecate Light. Braden Smith dominating much of round 1, but AJ Nichols fighting out of the blue corner, a game fighter as he tries to work his way inside. Joining us ringside, or cage side rather, is the great Mikhail Valentin. Mikhail, clearly round 1, I don't think there's any question, was scored for Braden Smith. My question is Smith really dominating the fight? He won, is he dominating?
He is. Honestly, at least where the fight has been, he's dominated everywhere. But now, let's see if they stay up. Like so far on the standing, actually the corners did a good job adjusting AJ, because standing, it looked like he was doing pretty good and landing a couple punches. So I think that's actually why Braden is now immediately trying to take it to the ground, because he knows he dominates there.
You mentioned the corners, so let's talk about the corners for a moment. Braden Smith in the red corner has Bo Gibbs Sr., the father of world boxing middleweight contender Bo Gibbs Jr., and has a really strong corner. Not to say that Nichols doesn't, but how would you weigh the corners of these fighters?
Well, Braden also has UFC veteran Matt Grice out of the Forge MMA, the head coach as well, right there in the hat. Yep. So
right,
if you were talking experience and pedigree, in that aspect, we could say Braden. But at the same time, if you look at the corner of AJ Nichols, he's got Seth Norman, who's an incredible jiu-jitsu practitioner, really good grappler, comes out of the same camp, like I said, as Julio Avila, so he's got Kevin Rayford over there. It's a very very split corner session, but if we're talking experience and just overall accomplishment as far as MMA or boxing, then it goes to Braden.
There's a bit of a lull in the action here in round 2 as Braden Smith lands strikes on the inside, and the crowd clearly on Braden Smith's side, trying to cheer them on to a little more action. But Braden Smith, if I were advising him, I would tell him to do nothing different. He is handling this fight exactly as a fighter should. Mikhail?
I agree. I think one thing I would maybe advise a little more, clearly not in this position because he's looking to get a takedown here, but once he gets it to the ground, one of the things I would do if I'm Braden is I'll throw a little more strikes to try to open up submission opportunities, because if all he's going to do is grapple, AJ will know and AJ will grapple him back.
Nichols with a quick reversal gets back mount. Typically he would get 2 points, but in MMA, I think the judges are going to be looking at more is the blood streaming out of the nose of AJ Nichols, but AJ Nichols turning on the heat. Maybe the assault from Braden Smith tired Smith out a little bit, and Nichols is ready to turn on the jets. At least he seemed to be, but now both fighters are locked up, and it looks like they're both seeking a little bit of a rest in this clinch.
You're right. I think there could be some of that, but at the same time, I'll be honest. Braden fought an LFA fight 2 fights ago against a very dangerous fighter. He lost the fight, but the guy went on to the UFC after the fight, and Braden won all 3 rounds. He did, like I said, he lost positionally, but his gas tank looked okay. So we'll see what the 3rd round or even maybe the 4th brings. Right now, I'm not sure gas tank is into effect. I think AJ is just adjusting well and grappling, kind of what I was talking about, because there wasn't enough strikes, and I think AJ just started using his grappling and out grappling.
And if these two get to wrestling, they'll both draw on their backgrounds as Choctaw, Oklahoma, Braden Smith's hometown, and Perry, Oklahoma, AJ Nichols' hometown. They are both strong beds of wrestling, not only in Oklahoma, but on the national scene. Braden Smith still really dominating the action. If you were advising AJ Nichols, what would you tell him?
So that's another thing too. I think AJ is really focused on his grappling and his wrestling, and I think he's missing the in-between. I don't think he's striking. I don't think he's looking for damage. I don't think he's opening up positions to advance his grappling. I think all he's doing is hanging on and just trying to use that one thing, and I think that's the hardest thing to do, because then either a separation happens or you're just not able to do anything.
And referee Mark Carter separates the fighters as we reach the end of round 3 of round 2. The end of round 2. Round 3 coming up.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Wheatley Vodka Rampage at Remington, presented by Tecate Light and brought to you by HD MMA. We are at Remington Park and Casino in Oklahoma City in the 3rd round of this welterweight title bout. AJ Nichols fighting out of the blue corner, taking on the heavily favored Braden Smith, fighting out of the red corner. Mikhail Valentin joins us cage side. 2 rounds in, I think it's relatively obvious that Smith has won the first 2 rounds. So my question to you is, how can Nichols turn this fight around?
Actually, here's the thing, I agree. I think Braden won the first 2 rounds, but if you look in about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes of the last round, AJ was turning the tide. And I think he's still in that kind of space right now. Braden's still doing a good job, but AJ is a lot more in the fight than he was, I think, in the first round. So we'll see what happens here, but I do think AJ is starting to do some good things here to try to turn it around. Not clearly right this moment, but he has been doing a good job for about 3 minutes.
And we're about halfway through round 3, which means we're about halfway through the fight. So my question to you, Miguel, is how much does momentum matter in a fight?
Oh, it does, and especially when you're up rounds, you don't have to fight the same way to try to, say, come back or go get too aggressive. You're able to use your best skill sets because you're not having to force anything if you're ahead, you know? So I think the momentum does matter, and I think it favors Braden, and that's why you see AJ kind of making a little comeback, but because Braden's kind of in a groove, he continues to stifle it every time AJ explodes.
He does. Braden Smith landing very effective hammer strikes to the upper thigh and to the knee, trying to wear on the legs of AJ Nichols. But Braden Smith occasionally working in a serious shot upstairs that gets Smith's attention.
Yep.
Smith relentless on those hammer shots. The right hand to the thigh, and that's starting to make AJ Nichols drop his guard just a little bit, enough for Smith to seek out opportunities. We are in the latter half of round number 3. This is a 5-round bout for the welterweight championship of Oklahoma. And now Braden Smith working off the double leg gets Nichols to the ground. And Nichols, for as well as he was doing for himself in this round, at least as evenly as he was keeping it, appears to be losing the momentum that he once had, and that knee kind of sealed it.
I agree. I do think that he was turning it around in round 2, but I think we're back to more of the same in round 3. I think the size advantage is hurting him, and the clinch is hurting him. But when he fights back, he's successful. I just think he's kind of a little complacent because he's like a little flustered right now. He just doesn't know what to do. Good punches there. Wild.
Very solid punches as Nichols swings for the fences. Smith ties him up as Nichols appears to be working toward it looked like a single leg. Not sure what he's doing now. He's back to the single leg, but I'm not sure Nichols has enough in his gas tank to pull off a move that he needs at this moment. And again, Smith is just hammering him with those shots.
Well, AJ's got both arms in now. He's trying to lock his hands and try to pull him up for a takedown here, and he doesn't.
He did it, but he did not do it to great effect.
No. Now, this is going to matter, though. If he got him down and he can control him here for a little bit, he'll score some points. I don't believe it right now. It's enough to win a round because Braden's dominated the whole round and just reversed him.
And here we see Smith taking control of this fight, shifting over toward top mount, throwing punches upstairs and downstairs, trying to push off of AJ Nichols. They're throwing quick shots on the inside. No one doing really significant damage, but once again, Braden Smith completely dictating the geography of this fight as we come toward the end of round 3. Brutal body shot to the hanging ribs. Right hand thrown by Braden Smith. Nichols in perilous position as we end round 3. Round 4 coming up. What a night here at the Wheatley Vodka Rampage at Remington, presented by Tecate Light. This has been a spectacular main event for the welterweight championship of Oklahoma. Mikhail Valentin joining us cage side. Miguel, it would seem Braden Smith has been in complete control of this fight, but look at what's happening now.
AJ made a slick move to get us back, but he's not capitalizing. It looks like Braden's trying to fight out, but AJ did an incredible job right there. He surprised him.
He is, and AJ was actually in excellent position in back mount. Frankly, I'm just not sure he has the size or strength to capitalize.
Yeah, he couldn't lock it in. He had to get his legs in. Braden also did a good job immediately transitioning as soon as he knew he was in trouble. And that movement and constant transition, I guess you could say constant transition, he got out of that position because of that. He didn't just stay there and let AJ sink his hooks in.
And when AJ Nichols seems to get some momentum going, Braden Smith is so effective at tying him up and nullifying the attack that AJ Nichols seems to lose his initiative.
I agree, and that's veteran status right there. Braden's got more fights, more experience. He doesn't need to fight AJ the way AJ wants. So every time you're right, AJ goes on offense, Braden's like, okay, well, I'm going to stifle him, and I'm going to do what he can't defend against, and what he's done all fight.
And Braden Smith not taking a tremendous amount of chances at this point in the fight. We're about halfway through round 4. This is a 5-round fight. We're in the championship rounds. And we are going to see if Braden Smith has what it takes to retain the welterweight championship of Oklahoma. So far, he has not been, from what I've seen, in any peril from AJ Nichols. And at this point, we're deep into round 4 of this 5-round fight. Mikhail, who appears to be in a better condition at this point?
Braden. I think Braden looks a lot fresher. I think he's also hasn't had to work as hard as AJ. He's looking really good. He's going for the positions here. I really think he's overwhelming him, and I don't think there's really much, to debate as far as who is winning and who's got better conditioning here.
And Braden Smith has been clearly winning every round, dominating every round. He has been beating AJ Nichols, but I wouldn't say he's been beating him up.
No, he isn't.
AJ Nichols is holding his own and really mitigating a lot of the damage that Braden Smith would inflict on a lesser caliber fighter.
Correct, you're right, but at the same time, every one of those things is scoring him points and winning every single minute of every round. So a very smart fight, very good fight here for Braden.
Smith throwing very effective knees on the inside. We actually saw Nichols recoil, wince from the pain in his face when he caught one of those knees. Nichols is a game fighter. He's a tough fighter. He's a skilled fighter. I just think he's simply outmatched in terms of size and strength.
I agree. I do think he's too small for this weight class. I don't think most welterweights are bigger, but I also do think that there's a lot of difference in experience here. I do think that Braden is showing a higher level of ability, but AJ is also showing tons of potential because for a guy that has, half less fights, he's in the fight. He's not winning, but he's in the fight.
Yes. It's a commanding performance by Braden Smith, but it's not a fight that could not be turned around quickly by the properly placed punch of AJ Nichols. Again, I just think AJ Nichols is overwhelmed. He has 6 pro fights, which is very impressive, but compare that to the 12 pro fights, twice as many, that Braden Smith has.
Agreed.
I think the experience is a big factor, but if I were to objectively analyze this fight, I would say size has really dictated the winner.
Yeah,
so far.
So. I think part of it too, and to be honest, AJ's not really listening to his corners. One thing I've noticed is because when they say strike, he strikes and he rushes in back into the cage, and that's where Braden's best.
We're at the end of round 4. Final round next. The welterweight championship of Oklahoma on the line here at the Wheatley Vodka Rampage at Remington, presented by Tecate Light and brought to you by HD MMA. We are in the 5th and final, the championship round of this welterweight title fight. Mikhail Valentin, I have Braden Smith pitching a shutout at this point, winning 4 rounds out of 4 so far. What does Nichols need to do to win this fight?
He has to finish him. I mean, being 4 rounds down, you can't win 1 round and you can't get enough points back. So he absolutely has to finish him. Nichols has done a really good job, honestly. I keep saying that. When he stands, he's landed, but he's not listening. Like the corners say strike and he rushes in and he ends up tying up, and it's just not working for him.
Well, allow me to give credit to both fighters. I'd like to praise Braden Smith for being smart enough to put money in the bank by repeatedly nailing the left thigh of AJ Nichols with that right hand. That shows very strategic, smart, long-term thinking in a fight. On the same note, let's give it up to AJ Nichols, who seems relatively ineffective when he's on his feet. Those kind of shots keep you from moving, but Nichols has moved quite well when they're in stand-up.
Yep, and another thing I will give AJ is Braden's got him in a back position here. AJ's fighting it right now, and he needs to get his head back here. I can't see because Braden's back is to me. It looks deep, but at the same time, I can't tell how deep. What I did want to say is, there it is. He got the finish.
And that is it.
Very impressive.
After 4.5 grueling rounds, Braden Smith pulls it off as AJ Nichols taps out, and Smith retains his welterweight championship. We will have the official time when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wheatley Vodka Rampage at Remington, presented by Tecate Light and brought to you by HD MMA. We have reached the very end of this welterweight title bout. It ends with a tap out in round 5. Interestingly enough, the winner, Braden Smith, is collapsed in his corner as his cornerman scrambled to untape his hand and see if there's potentially a break. I don't know what happened to Braden Smith, but from everything I can tell from the way the corner is acting and the way he's acting, it sounds like a broken knuckle, broken hand, or looks like, rather.
Yeah, he was shaking his hand out. It does look like he hurt himself. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully it's nothing long. Really good fight. What I saw out of Braden was very impressive and a true championship performance.
A broken hand, of course, an occupational hazard when you're a fighter. This fight ends in round 5. Let's get the official time up at the ring from the spine-tingling Gerald Whalen.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at Remington Park, the main event, proudly brought to you by Wheatley Vodka, ends at 1 minute and 47 seconds into the 5th round. Your winner by tap out of the red corner, Braden Smith.
What a fantastic win for the defending welterweight champion, Braden Smith, moving his record to 10-3 here in the main event at the Wheatley Vodka Rampage at Remington. This has been a spectacular night of fights. Mikhail Valentin, give us your thoughts on the main event.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm standing here with Braden H.P. Smith, right? After winning a magnificent
We're going to set it up in the ring to hear the winner of our main event, Braden Smith, give a victory speech.
Not good, not good. Well, during the, what was that, the 3rd round, you were talking about how good my nachos smelled through the cage while you were in the middle of that fight, so sounded like you were having a good time up at that point, but what happened to the arm?
The ref beforehand said he didn't like trash talk and not like to talk to my opponent, so I just started talking about nachos because that's what I saw, but I feel good. I think I broke my arm, but hey man, this ain't the HD show, this is the HP show. Woo! I love you guys. And Dana White, I'm coming soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner of the main event here tonight at the Wheatley Vodka Rampage, proudly presented by Tecate. Follow HD Boxing and MMA on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. You can catch the fights there.
Oklahoma.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, from HD Boxing, MMA, and Remington Park, thank you again for coming out this evening.
Oklahoma welterweight champion Braden Smith successfully defending his title, ending this tough fight in the 5th round. Mikhail Valentin, your thoughts on tonight's show in the main event?
Okay, one thing, sorry to correct you, a lot of little things on the bout sheet. So Braden actually missed weight by 1 pound and 3 ounces yesterday, so he lost the title on the scale. Braden actually technically winning this fight, he can't be the champion. So championship performance, championship everything, but he does not have the belt. As far as the overall show, I think that might have been the best show we've put together. Lots of very competitive fights, lots of great performances in winning and in losing. Very proud of what we did here tonight.
Once again, a spectacular evening of fights here at the Wheatley Vodka Rampage at Remington, presented by Tecate Light and brought to you by HD MMA. On behalf of HD MMA, Mikhail Valentin, I'm Andrew Spino here at Remington Park. We'll see you back April 27th. Good night.